Oh, yeah. Hey, Don.
Well, howdy, Pilgrim.
Had that coming.
Yeah, but hey, well, I'm talking again about yet another failure of Christianity. I've done 20 previous shows, so much failure, so
Quite
few
a collection.
gods. Yeah, quite a collection. I've got lots more to go. Today, I want to talk about the failure of fraternity. And what brings this up is that each year the Pope issues a message for the Vatican's Day of Peace remembrance, which is January 1st.
Is the failure of fraternity when the dean comes and says, you guys better shape up before the end of the year?
Right, no more hazing, yeah.
Right.
Something like that, yeah. So, and many people are calling Bergoglio, the Pope, Pope Francis, a world leader. And Time has even named him Person of the Year about a couple weeks ago. And the central theme of his message is fraternity, and I'm going to assume that he means the quality or state of being brotherly or brotherly love, brotherhood, instead of exclusive all-male club, which maybe that's what he really means. I'm not so sure. On the plus side, I agree with the importance of fraternity, is in the first definition. And on the minus side, he's hijacking the phrase to sneak in religion, which is incompatible with fraternity, his religion. And so fraternity is just another failure of Christianity, and I'll justify that in a bit. What's right about Bergoglio's message is the love of one's fellow human being is really the foundation of peace. And he calls fraternity the foundation and pathway of peace. He actually calls it that, and I agree with that. Key themes here are equality, reciprocity, recognition of our common humanity, and our relationship to all creatures on the planet, humans and all other creatures. And these are the core tenets of liberalism, I would say. And so it's a bit of an odd thing coming from the Pope, being a very staunchly a conservative organization. And his message, unfortunately, is self-serving. He uses this brotherhood imagery instead of humanity or that sort of thing to make a place for a father. So in doing so, he tries to smuggle in God, the Heavenly Father, his special son, Jesus, the papal hierarchy, priests, the Virgin Mother, and a million saints. And everybody else who's not on that list is a miserable wretch who deserves to be tormented and tortured unless they adore the torturer and give money to the Catholic Church. So that's kind of how the whole thing gets twisted around. And all of these things he's trying to smuggle in are a big distraction or completely at odds with brotherly love, what really is the core message. There's a couple other little self-serving things that I'll touch on too. He decries organized crime and money trafficking, but the Vatican has been doing both. We got the illicit man-boy love thing going on with the organized crime, and the Vatican Bank has been the center of a money laundering scheme for a while here, a money laundering scandal. He decries the right to life and religious freedom, and the threats against religious freedom, I should say. But he in his organization works to insert their religious agenda over in other countries' policies like the U.S. And remember, they exterminated the Cathars and tried to do the same to the Jews. So I don't know about this right to life thing. He decries the creation of poverty, but this, co-opting women's reproductive organs to make more babies, especially poor ones, seems to be creating poverty. So, go figure. So let's take a look at his message as far as the themes in the message. Let's take a look at how the Pope. How fraternity has happened in the Bible and how fraternity has been done by the Christians, especially the popes. So I would say that God is incompatible with the love for one's human beings, and simply put, it creates a conflict of interest. You cannot serve two masters. You cannot serve God and humanity, right? And those two things are often in conflict. And choosing God usually means denigrating or harming humanity. And consider something like thou shalt not suffer a witch to live, or as far as slaves, Bible quote, you may treat them as your property, passing them on to your children as a permanent inheritance in Leviticus. So Bergoglio uses Cain and Abel as an example, as a need for God, but the story is about harm caused by the rivalry for God's favor. So it's exactly this sort of thing. And he also says, now listen to the subtext of this message, all who accept the life of Christ and live in him acknowledge God as Father and give themselves completely to him, loving him above all things, including your fellow man. So yes, it's incompatible. Fraternity is incompatible with Christianity. You can look through the Bible. The Bible's kind of a genocide manual. You can look at Cain and Abel in Genesis 4. That's a non-fraternity thing. The story of Abraham going to kill his son at God's command. There's a great example of non-fraternity, of killing your kin in order to benefit yourself and get the goodies from God. There are many commands in the Bible for God to kill. There's the curse of Ham in Genesis and slavery in Exodus that has been used to oppress blacks and slaves in general. Women and children are property in the Bible. There's mistreatment of Jews and hate your family. Jesus himself gets in on the act in Luke 14:26. So lots of non-fraternity, lots of impediments to brotherly love. How about popes and Christian leaders? Well, the previous pope, Ratzinger, shuffled priests himself in the pedophilia scandal, and he worked to hide abuses. Not much fraternity there. Pius the 12th helped to legitimize Hitler and did not utter a word about the Holocaust as saying it was a bad thing. Martin Luther, not a pope, but certainly a religious leader, incited the Peasants' Rebellion and was a major anti-Semite. Various popes led the Inquisitions. Also, the Spanish Inquisition was led by the pious King Ferdinand and was also a religious themes in the conquest of the Americas. Pope Innocent III, I'm going backwards in time, began an era of witch burnings, which is pretty awful thing. And Pope Urban II led the First Crusade. So lots and lots of negative examples. So in conclusion, while the love of one's human being is the cornerstone of peace, Christianity is incompatible with it. God sets up a conflict of interest. The Bible is rife with examples, exalted examples of persecution and murder. Christian history, especially the papal history, shows the true nature of religion, and therefore fraternity is a failure of Christianity, and therefore we have some trouble with peace. And I hope that Bergoglio realizes this and turns from Christianity to true fraternity.
That would be nice.
That's my message for the Day of Peace.
Happy holidays, everyone.
Okay. Let's
All
take
right,
some calls.
thanks,
How
Don.
about that? Yeah.